Okay, so let's talk about how you might go about animating a lamp hopping. This is an early locomotion exercise, and it's important that we do this right so that we get the hang of how you might go about planning out animation and getting into good working habits. So first of all, we want to start at the beginning and think about what it is that we want to animate. And obviously, we're doing the lamp because it's a nice simple thing. It was pioneered by Pixar with Luxo Jr. a long time ago. And the thing you first of all want to think about is how might a lamp hop? How would it actually go about moving? And one of the most important things to do is to look up reference, and that means obviously not looking at real lamps hopping because lamps don't hop, but feel free to check out the Pixar reference and Pixar animation, get inspired, feel free to act it out yourself, and then draw some thumbnails and key poses, and I'll walk you through that process now. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to animate our lamp hopping, and we're going to try and create a cycle so that the lamp can hop continuously on a kind of endless loop. Now, worth considering is how a real lamp actually works. Whenever you're animating anything, you want to consider the physical properties of the thing you're animating. Now, we can get all complicated about this. There are a fair few bits and pieces involved in a lamp, but basically it's two controls. And you've got the lamp head up here, and then down at the bottom you've got the lamp base. And there's also an elbow joint, but we don't really need to worry too much about that for now. It's basically just control, head control and base control. Definitely check out the Pixar stuff. Pixar lamp animation is great. It's really well worth looking at, and even in the beginning when you're learning this stuff, it's even worth copying. It's also worth acting stuff out. You know, get in the habit of timing things out. How long does it take? I mean, basically a lamp hopping is just a jump. It's just like a jump. So if you do a little jump and time yourself doing it, you can get a feeling for how long it might take. And the way I time stuff out is I just go 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, like that, and get a feeling for how many seconds the action might take. It's also well worth checking out Edward Muybridge. Muybridge is a photography pioneer in the mid-19th century. There'll be a lot more of his stuff. He's a really great resource for animators. And here's some footage of him. He pioneered stop motion photography or high-speed photography. And here's some footage of a man jumping, and you can see all the main poses involved in the jump. So here's our start position. Here's the man getting into a kind of anticipation position. Here's where he lifts off, jumps up in the air, compresses, then comes down to land. There's the contact position as he hits the ground. He squashes down and then finally settles into the final pose. So our lamp is going to be very similar to this. We're going to have our start position, then an anticipation as the lamp goes down, a lift as the lamp pushes up, a passing position with the lamp in the middle. Then it comes down to the contact position. There's a squash as the lamp compresses, an overshoot, and finally a finish and settle at the end. So here's our start position. Going down for the anticipation. Pushing off the lift. This is usually a straight pose. You want to get a nice straight pose here so that the lamp really feels like it stretches out. Then the base starts to push off, and then here's the mid-air or passing position. The head's still more or less in the same place, but now the base is catching up, and then the base is going to come down for the contact position. Again, we want a nice straight position here before we go. The base touches down, and then compression into the squash or down position, and then finally a recoil and final pose and settle at the end. And here's the whole complete hop laid out. Okay, so where are you going to find the lamp rig? The rig I'm going to suggest that you use is to be found at creativecrash.com. Here's the URL. We'll come back to Creative Crash and also TurboSquid a lot because they are really terrific websites. They're packed with free Maya rigs, all kinds of free geometry rigs, all kinds of stuff. And somebody's well, it's actually Amrit Deghaven and Alex Crouch who did this lovely Pixar Junior rig, which you can download for free on a free license. Although whenever you showcase stuff that's using free rigs, it's always good to give credit to the people who invented it. Always give credit to the people who help you develop your work. Once you've opened up the rig in Maya, get to know it, make sure it works. Basically, as I said, we've got two controls, head control and base control. Those are the two main controls. So get a feeling for how they work and play around with them. You want to have some idea of the timing of this thing before you begin. And what I've done here is I've thumbnailed out the lamp hopping. And I'll come back to thumbnails later on in more detail. There's a lecture specifically on thumbnails. But thumbnail drawings are basically where you plan out your animation. You plan out what's going to happen. You plan out the spacing of it and also the timing of it. And here I've done them for you, but I still recommend that you copy this out so that you get a feeling for how thumbnails work and how you might go about using them to plan out your animation. So here's our start position at frame 1. Then at frame 9 we've got an anticipation, 13 is the liftoff, 17 is the passing, 21 is the contact, 25 is the squash position, there's an overshoot at 29, a settle at 33, and then finally finish at settle at 41. So that's our total action is slightly under 2 seconds, and that's a 41 frame hop. And basically you're going to want to use two controls, the head control and the base control. Now you will find that there is a world control on the lamp, and that's very tempting to animate on this control. Do not animate on the world mover. You should use the world mover only once, and that's to move the character into position. After that you want to use the base control and the head control. You'll also want to use this control here. This is actually a pole vector, this little star out the back, and that controls the angle of the of this joint here. And you usually want to get this reasonably far away from the rig so that you don't have any weird difficulties in calculating. If this control gets too close to the rig, it can cause problems. So basically, world control, just move the lamp into place. Base control, head control are the ones you're actually animating. Okay, once you've got some animation done, then you want to get feedback from the director. Constructive criticism is vital to every animator's work, and you should get used to using criticism in order to make your animation better. In this case, I'm the director, but it could be me or it could be anyone. In this case, on this course, you'll be showing me your work. Or sometimes potentially other tutors as and when necessary, but basically you have to get used to showing your work and showing it regularly and using feedback to improve your work. Now, once you've got the basic hop working, we can try some variations. You can grab your curves in the graph editor and you can compress them, and you can also extend them. If you extend the curves, you can make the hop slower. If you compress the curves, you'll make the hop quicker. And you can do these changes very, very cheaply using the graph editor. Now, second part of the assignment. Once you've got your hop working, we're going to copy and paste the curves to make Luxo take several hops. So he's going to go hop, hop, and probably do 3 or 4 hops. So you get used to the idea of copying and pasting curves and keeping the lamp hopping. Part 3 of the assignment is to add a performance at the end. So once he's taken a few hops, you can add a bit of acting business at the end, something that shows what Luxo is thinking, what he's feeling, so that we can try and read his or her thoughts, and some bit of performance at the end of the shot, so that you get into the idea of character acting and making the personality of the lamp come alive. The final part of the assignment is to loop the cycle. So what we're going to do here is delete all the keyframes that you've done except for the very first hop, and then we're really back to the beginning where you've just got frame 1 and frame 41, and the lamp just takes 1 hop. And what you'll do is at frame 41 key the world mover, which I told you not to animate, but we're now going to animate the world mover, and you're going to keyframe it in Z so that you take the world control back to the origin. And I'll show you this in a separate video how to make this work. But what this does is basically it allows the cycle to start looping. And what you need to do is make sure that frame 41 and frame 1 are exactly the same, and now the lamp should be kind of looping on an endless treadmill, which is why I've got a picture of a girl on the treadmill there at the gym. So now the lamp should be looping continuously on a cycle. That is the end of this lecture, and of course watch the video, the tutorial video on how to actually make the lamp hot.